I was there when we dug up her grave. The coffin was empty. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that 2 days before, I had danced with her at her wedding. My name is Dayo, and I'm from a small village in Nigeria. I used to believe ghosts were just stories told by old people to scare children. But what happened to my friend Femi changed everything for me. Femi was the kind of guy everyone liked. He was hardworking, kind, and always had a joke to make you laugh. He had been waiting for the right woman to marry, and when he met Abini, he swore she was the one. She was beautiful, quiet, and had this strange, almost hypnotic way of looking at people. I remember the first time I met her. I felt cold, like someone had poured icy water down my back. But I didn't say anything. Femi was happy, and that was all that mattered. The wedding happened fast, too fast. They met in the dry season, and by the time the first rains came, they were already planning the ceremony. The elders said it was unusual, but Abini had no family, and Femi was in love, so no one questioned it. The wedding day was beautiful. The whole village gathered to celebrate. Abini looked like a goddess in a white dress, and Femi couldn't stop smiling. That night, we danced under the moonlight, drumming and singing. I remember watching Abini dance. She moved like her feet weren't touching the ground, like she was floating. I should have paid attention. Everything changed the next morning. Femi ran into my house before the sun was fully up, his face pale, his body shaking. "She's gone," he whispered. "What do you mean gone?" I asked. "She's not in the house," he said. "The door was locked from the inside, but she's not there. Her wedding dress is still on the bed." At first, we thought maybe she had gone to the river to fetch water, but the women at the river said they hadn't seen her. We searched the entire village. Nothing. Then, one of the elders, Baba Kunle, asked Femi where Abini was from. Femi hesitated. She said she was from the next village. Baba Kunle looked at him for a long time. Then he said, "We should go there." The road to the village was long and dusty. When we arrived, it was quiet, too quiet. No children playing, no women selling food. Just a few old men sitting under a tree. Femi explained why we were there. The men exchanged looks. Then one of them finally spoke. "Abeni," he said slowly. "There is no Abeni here." Femi looked confused. "She told me she was from here." The old man shook his head. Then he said something that made my stomach twist. "Abeni died 2 years ago." I felt the world tilt. Femi laughed, but it was the kind of laugh that sounded wrong. "That's impossible," he said. "I just married her yesterday." One of the men sighed and stood up. "Come," he said. "I'll show you." We followed him to a small graveyard behind the village. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear anything else. Then we saw it. Abini's grave. Her name was carved into the wood, along with the date she died, 2 years ago. Femi dropped to his knees. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." Baba Kunle said nothing. He just turned to the villagers and asked for a shovel. Nobody spoke as the old men dug into the dry earth. After what felt like hours, the shovel hit wood. They pulled the coffin out. My hands were shaking. Baba Kunle nodded. 2 men lifted the lid. The coffin was empty. I heard someone gasp. One of the old men crossed himself. My skin felt like ice. "She came back," the old man whispered. We ran back to the village as fast as we could. When we reached Femi's house, the door was open. We stepped inside carefully. The wedding dress was still on the bed, but now it was wet, muddy, like someone had worn it and walked through a river. And on the floor, leading out of the house, were footprints, bare footprints, wet, leading back toward the graveyard. We followed them, all the way to the grave. And there, on top of the empty coffin, was Abeni's wedding ring. Femi never spoke again after that day. He just stopped talking. His smile was gone, his laughter gone. He sat outside his house every evening, staring at nothing. One morning, we found him lying in his bed. His eyes were open, but he wasn't breathing. There were no marks on him, no signs of struggle, just a single wet footprint on the floor beside his bed, and the sound of faint laughter somewhere in the wind. I don't believe in ghost stories. At least, I didn't. But sometimes, late at night, when the wind moves through the trees, I hear footsteps outside my window, and sometimes, just for a moment, I smell wet earth, like something that has been buried for a long, long time, trying to find its way back home. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more terrifying African folktales. What would you do if the person you loved is a ghost? Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe and watch where you step.